Hello, everybody. Spider here, coming to the podcast once again, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. And my guest from San Antonio, Texas, of course, no longer out here, Kendall Phillips. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, but I made the mistake of moving to upstate New York where there's like 18 inches of snow on the ground. So I should have stayed in San Antonio. What was I thinking?
No, 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 no. I was gonna ask you about that because I said, man, I wasn't gonna complain about the weather because I'm pretty sure you guys have it bad, have it worse. But I mean, how is the weather out there?
It's bad. No, it is like about 18 inches of snow, and it's just still coming. So, but again, we're used to it. Like half the country, if San Antonio got 2 inches of snow, they would declare it the end of the world. Everybody would be in church praying for salvation or something. Here it's like a foot of snow is not a big deal. 18 inches is getting a little bit much, and
Yeah,
it's been a heavy winter. But honestly, I'll say this: I grew up in Texas.
yeah.
I've lived in upstate New York for 26 years. I can't handle the Texas heat now. Like I just like my family says, "You want to come visit in June or July?" I'm like, "Nope, too hot. Can't do it."
That's what I told people. If you're gonna invite me, make sure you got the AC going because otherwise I ain't coming over, man. No, no, not too, because of course, I mean, San Antonio, that when it comes to the city, I mean, it's not built for extreme temperatures. People talk about, like everybody's afraid, driving like crazy, but people forget. I mean, a lot of our underground piping isn't as deep. It's closer to the ground or to the ground level, and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that piping. But yeah, but other than that, I mean, that's not, it's just something people get carried away. I mean, I know there was like bad wrecks yesterday on 35, and I hope everybody's okay. But it was just like a lot of black ice and all that other hazardous stuff that's going around. But it's pretty bad.
Yeah, things are going crazy out there. So
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
safe,
yeah.
people.
No, no, yeah, yeah. Be safe, man. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, man, the sun actually came out. I stepped out. It's just ice was melting, and I said, okay, you know what? I mean, my boss actually gave me tomorrow off, which I'm not gonna lie, I was looking forward to going back just because I know I was gone all week from filming, and I know I got a lot of stuff I gotta clean up and get ready. So, but yeah, she gave everybody the day off. So I said, well, I'm gonna try to figure out, just get the house going and get the dogs ready and all that, all that adult stuff, right?
Yeah, it's no fun. This whole adulting. Whose idea was this?
No, really, man. I mean, I keep telling people, I said, man, I tried moving back home so many times, and my mom kept telling me no.
That's right.
But my man, but of course, let me ask you, how long have you been up there in New York?
So I've been in Syracuse for 26 years. So I've lived here longer than I lived in Texas because I pretty much left Texas at 18 and
Yeah.
been drifting. I lived in Missouri for a while, lived in Pennsylvania for a while, was back in Missouri for a while, ended up upstate here and has been here for, yeah, almost a little over half my life now. So
And I mean, what was it that took you to New York? Let me ask you that.
job, yeah. So I teach at Syracuse University. So I've been
Nice.
doing the
Okay.
academic teaching gig. So I've been various and sundry places here and abroad. But yeah, so Syracuse. So pretty much just came up here for work, and
Yeah.
then at first I thought, oh my God, what was I thinking? That first winter was like, oh my God, what am I
Yeah.
thinking? But it's funny. My wife is actually from Britain, which is weird. So I'm from Texas. She's from Britain. Oddly enough, we're kind of midway between the families, so
There
it
you go.
kind of worked out.
No, yeah. You just decide to see who's got better weather, right?
And I picked the worst possible. I said, what's the worst place? It's why I always say, like the students who come here, they say, oh my God, the weather's awful. And I say, just remember, you get to leave and you'll always be able to tell the stories of I was in Syracuse, New York when they got 3 feet of snow in one night or thing. So it gives us
No.
something to talk about, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I know. I mean, like here at home, like San Antonio, I'm like central. I'm like close to downtown or a little west of that. But we got a little bit of ice. I know my pals out there in Austin and Fort Worth. I mean, they got snow, so I'm pretty sure they got it worse. But the highways. I mean, of course, they're above ground, so everything got frozen. And for the most part, I think everything got shut down yesterday or even into today. From all that cleanup, and all that other stuff. But yeah, hoping for a better week. And like I said, I hope everybody's doing great, man.
Stay safe. You Southerners, you don't know how to drive in the snow. You don't have salt. You don't have plow trucks. Just stay home. Stay home and watch this podcast. Go
I
back to
know,
the
man.
other
Yeah,
coming soon podcasts. You can spend a whole
grab
week.
a book, get a DVD, a VHS, throw it out there, man, and stay home. And that's actually what I did today. I mean, I think my dogs, like they're hooked on freaking streaming services, man. Because I leave the TV on for them, like while we're gone for work, and I'm pretty sure they're big on Tubi and Prime and everything else that I got. So
Maybe your dogs will start a podcast soon, like what we
I'm
watched on
hoping.
TV today.
I'm hoping that way I can, take it easy. Maybe I'll be a guest on their show. We'll see. We'll see. But my man, but of course, let me get back to as far as how everything started for you, because as far as writing, I mean, did that start here in San Antonio?
No, I started, I think, when I was in high school, and I went to high school in a little place called Denison, also in Texas. I wanted to be a writer. Like, I really did from very early on. But like a lot of people, I grew up in a family. I wouldn't say we were poor, but we were middle class to poor. Like, one year, dad bought a boat. The next year, there will be no Christmas. It was like everything was always like, you didn't know. Like, one year we're in a very nice house in Lubbock. The next year we're moving into the spare room in your grandparents for a couple of years. Like, all four of us, yeah, all four. Right. So I never had the brave. I guess I wasn't brave enough to say I'm going to be a writer and just go out and do it. So. Yeah. I got a regular gig. Like I said, I teach at a university. What I loved about teaching at university was they said, look, you can write mainly nonfiction, but you can write and you can talk about ideas and you can look at, and for me, I can watch movies because my area of academic study is actually horror movies. Yeah. So I've written about horror for years, but always still had that dream. Like, I really would love to write my own story. And then finally, this year that came true with the novel that came out from Nightmare Press. So it's like a childhood dream finally got there, boss. I finally made it.
No, for sure. And I was going to ask you, when did you know that this was it? Like, that you said you wanted to be a writer, but I mean, you still had doubts. So, I mean, what was it that you published or that you wrote that you were like, you know what, this is it. Like, this is what I'm going to do.
I think for me, my whole life, I've thought of stories. So I've written 1,000 novels in my head, Yeah. Like the idea came and this one was an idea that I had and like probably for years sort of played with it and twisted it and thought this way and that way. And it was actually, I'll give credit to my wife, who is also a writer. She's like an actual literary writer, like writes short stories in literary journals and things. So she's incredible. She finally was the one who said, look, quit talking about it. Just do it. Just sit down. And so with a lot of wonderful people's support and encouragement, I thought at the very least, I'll write it to say I did it. It may just disappear. It may sit in a box. I may use it to start a fire, but like, I'm going to write it. And then I was fortunate that as I started sharing it with people, the feedback was good and very positive. And that's what finally gave me the courage to think, well, maybe I'll try it. And I should say to folks out there who want to be writers or maybe are starting to write, and you probably know this too, it's a brutal world. It's a brutal world trying to break into publishing. So that part was hard, but I had a lot of love and encouragement from family and friends to support the writing and to chase the dream, which, seems scary and crazy and stupid until you do it. And then then at some point you go, oh, wow, actually, this is not stupid and crazy. It kind of works.
No, for sure. And let me ask you, when it comes to writing in the beginning, I mean, was this pen on paper? Or how did you used to write?
No, I tend to outline, like I write lots of notes, but my handwriting is like chicken with paralysis, or I don't know what you say. I mean, I was that kid in school. You remember this? We're about the same age. I'm a little older, but we're about the same. Remember the Big Chief notebooks? And I was the one doing circles because my handwriting was always so. I do type everything. Now, I was lucky. I had a grandmother who insisted way back in 1975 I had to learn to type.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, well, I'm like 6, 7 years old. I want to learn to type. She said, you got to learn to type. And it was the best thing ever. So yeah, so I type, I tend to outline. I'm very focused on plot. So I really have to think through like what's going to happen. I can't just start writing and think I'll figure it out. Like, I know my brain does not work that way.
No, for sure. And I was going to say too, because when it comes to typing, I mean, I did mention before we got on, I mean, I did used to have a typewriter like in early 90s. And I would type, but I mean, it wasn't traditional. Like, I used both. I don't know. It's weird because every time I would type, people were like, man, why do you type like that? But I used to use like I don't know. It was weird. It's just I kind of taught myself. You know, in high school, I actually tried taking typing, and they didn't allow me because at the time. And I'll say this now because I used to have like growing up, my mom she used to have one long fingernail. Like all her nails would break. You know, because she was house mom and she would work and so she only had one long fingernail, and I used to grow that just because I was like,
Nice.
I love my mom. I still do. She unfortunately passed away a couple, 2 years ago. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
but it's a thing that I used to do when because I had one long fingernail. Like they wouldn't let me attend the class. They were like, no, go talk to the principal. You gotta get another elective. And I'm like, I go to the principal's office, and the secretary there's got like these long nails, man, and she's going at it, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like. But yeah, so I didn't get to do that, but I learned at home, and it's just, I mean, even now, like when I use a laptop, it's like it's clumsy, I get it done, but it's like people, I've been I'm at work, people are like, man, what are you doing, bro? Like you're taking too long, and I'm like, but then they're trying to type like 100 like letters a minute, and they fumble and they're having the backspace and all that stuff, and I'm like, well, I'll keep doing what I'm doing.
If it works for you. But I got to say, probably the single best gift any of my family members ever gave me was my grandmother forced me to learn
Yeah,
proper 5-finger, 10-finger typing and all
yeah.
what all letters are. And that has definitely made everything else in life quicker and easier, especially in terms of writing and all that other stuff. So it was an early blessing.
No, no, for sure, man. Because I'm still trying to learn. We'll see if I pick it up. Who knows?
I would
But
have my grandmother teach you, but she's been gone. Sorry.
okay, well, she taught you, so now we'll have to do some online classes or something. We'll figure something out, man. But man, but of course, but let me ask you. I mean, when it comes to the digital world, because of course I was doing photography. I know in high school when it transitioned over from actually developing film to digital. Like I was already out of high school, but I remember when that happened, and a lot of things changed. I mean, was you already writing before that happened, or did you already jump on the whole digital field, should we say?
I started when it was still type, like you had a word processor. Actually, I
Yeah,
started with typewriter, but the early days, the word processor, because that was all it did.
yeah.
And you had to mail things. I still remember my early stuff I wrote. This is kind of more academic nonfiction stuff, but I would put it in an envelope with a stamp, and you'd send it off. And then
Oh yeah,
6 weeks later, you get a little envelope, and you're all nervous to open it. You look at it. Oh no, they rejected it, or oh yay, they accepted it, or whatever.
yeah,
And I still remember I was in graduate school at Penn State. So I went to Penn State University, and I was in graduate school at Penn State when the first electronic mail,
yeah.
ooh, crazy, spooky stuff. And I remember thinking, wow, this is great. This is so great. Now, of course, every day I think I hate email. It's the most horrible. I
No,
wake up every morning to 900 emails and think, I think, oh, I wish people had to write a letter. They'd think about it. They'd have to think, do I really want to send this message? But so yeah, I was in that early transition period, and I will say, I think as a writer, the two things I have two thoughts about it. One is, on the one hand, it does make things so much quicker to just be able to quickly cut, paste, delete, change, do whatever.
oh yeah,
The downside is you don't have that archive of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you don't have those old. Now I do tend to print things because I don't like to read on the screen because I'm on screen all day. So like I still like physical books. Like I got a whole pile of physical books back here.
oh yeah,
I like to read a physical thing. So I do tend to print off drafts. But sometimes you write something and then you think, oh, that's not right, and you delete it, and then maybe 3 weeks later you go like, oh, actually, damn, that was the thing. And now, of course, it's lost. As
yeah.
opposed to the old days when you just go dig through your files and find that piece of paper. So
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, I still have a calendar in my wall at work, and it's like I write everything down because they're like, oh, check your emails, and I just look at my calendar because I mean, if I get on the laptop and try to find stuff, man, I'll delete stuff, and I'm real big with deleting everything. Like I delete all my texts, I delete, and it's just a habit. And it's like at work, they'll send an email, and I'll delete it, and then they'll be like, hey, did you read the bottom part, or we added this, and I'm like, I'm
oops.
like, nah, yeah, like, can you send it again? I think I can't find it. But just a bad habit I'm trying to fix. But yeah,
I,
I mean,
I'm
for
with
me,
you. I like the analog world. My biggest pet peeve is the airport. Everybody's using their phone, right? I still
uh,
like when I go to the airport, I print off a ticket because
yeah,
inevitably there's going to be someone who goes up and their phone won't work or they
yeah,
can't get it open, and it's like you could just have an actual physical
yeah,
thing. You just scan it, you walk through. So
I know, and I'm my fear, and it's happened before, because when it comes to like I'm next in line and my phone freezes, and I'm like,
Yes.
crap, and I'm there like, hold on, trying to get it back open, and I don't know. It's one of those things. Like even being at the register, that not that it's happened in a while, but it's like you're trying to pay something and it doesn't work, or the card doesn't go through, and I'm
All the
just like,
time.
I'm just like, man, you know what?
Cash.
I got cash on me. Let me just pay cash. Let me get out of here, man.
I'm a
Because
big fan of cash. But what's funny, this is completely off topic, but tonight I was actually supposed to see Ghost. That's why I'm wearing the T-shirt there in
oh
honor of. I was
man,
supposed to see Ghost. The tour, this part of the tour got canceled because of the weather. But here's the
man,
thing I was trying to. So Ghost has this policy where you can't, like, you bring your phone, but you have to seal it up in this bag
yeah.
because they don't want people spending the entire show doing this.
Oh
They like
yeah,
just watching through your phone. They're like, no, we're on stage, watch us.
yeah.
That I think is cool. The thing I don't understand is the only ticket you could use to get in the show had to be on your phone. So you must
Oh
bring your phone,
man,
but you can't use your phone. I thought, couldn't you just let me print out a paper ticket? Like then I wouldn't
yeah.
let my phone. But anyway, the show got canceled because of weather, but hopefully I'll catch them next time they're in town. So
No, no, for sure. And I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I used to I still cover the combat sports aspect. I still do media. I used to do a lot of case site photography, videography, and it took a while, but I remember like it was just yesterday. I mean, I feel that old, right? But it's like I'm taking pictures of the fighters walking out, and as I'm going back and looking at the photos, I see like 100 phones, like everybody's just like hanging off the side with all
yeah,
these phones, and I'm like. And I was like, damn, man, like what the heck's going on, And it's kind of not that photography died, because they're still out there, but it's just I was like, well, you know what? It's quicker, it's faster. People are posting it right there and then. I had to wait till I got off, filming and do my thing. But that's when I jumped on the phone too, and that's what I actually have a media phone. I have like two phones, and one's just
oh
for
well,
for media, because if I'm on the phone and it's like I got to work on something, I can get on the other one real quick, and but yeah, man, it's just when that happened, I was like, damn, and it's kind of like the post office, man. I was a post employee 15 years. 2005, I get to work, and we used to work at the plant, uh, football field area, man. And we had like big old cluster boxes of just mail that would come in, right? And Monday we go in, we walk in, and it's freaking dead. There's like nothing, and we're like, what the heck's going on? So I see my boss, and I'm like, hey man, where's the mail at? And he's like, dude, it's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean it's gone? And he's like, yeah, dude, like everything's going digital. And it happened like that overnight, or over the weekend, should I say. But, it became a thing to where like it was, people were sending emails. So now junk mail wasn't on the mail. It was on through your emails. Everybody's getting spammed. And, so that's kind of, I remember that happening. And it's like, man, okay, well, papers, it died. It was dying. People were like, oh, I want this quick. I want it now. I don't want to have to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't want it to get lost in the mail. I don't want it to. So, it took away from a lot of things, but, it's individuals like ourselves, we still want to feel something, we still want it in our hands and
that's
have
right.
actual physical media.
Old men shouting at the
Yeah.
cloud. Yeah,
Oh,
kids get off my yard.
yeah. More like, what time do you open? 5 in the
That's right.
morning. Like, hey, we got money. Let's go. But man, but of course, let me ask you, you said when you started writing, it was mostly horror, correct?
Yeah, so most of my writing really has been about horror. So I've written a lot of books. I actually was nominated for a Bram Stoker Award. There's my Bram Stoker Award nomination
Nice.
for a nonfiction book called Dark Directions that was about horror films of the 1970s. I've actually got a copy. I've got a book. This book, Projected Fears: Horror Films in American Culture.
Yeah.
This originally came out 20 years ago because I'm old, and this is the new second edition. Just came out. Yeah, most of my writing has been about horror and popular culture. It's about films, television, literature, kind of like why do we like horror so much? But honestly, throughout the whole time I'm doing that, secretly what I wanted to do is write my own horror story. Like that was my dream. And then finally, thanks to the great folks at Nightmare Press, I was able to make that dream come true. And now I think I'll still write about horror, but I'm hoping to keep writing my own stories as well.
No, no, for sure. And let me ask you, because when it comes to influence, I mean, what horror films did you kind of vibe off of? I mean, what were some of your favorite films, horror films growing up?
Well, it's going to sound cliche, but I still say pound for pound, the greatest American horror film was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, the original.
There you go. There
Still
you
the
go.
one and I show that to students even now, and they even modern students get freaked out by
Yeah.
it. So yeah, I really have learned to love the whole history of the genre, all the way back to the early silent films.
Oh,
So
definitely.
things like Nosferatu and Caligari, and even earlier, more obscure stuff, like the early 1910 version of Frankenstein, which is weird
Yeah.
and creepy and all kinds of cool stuff. Um, and then I love the modern stuff. I really loved Weapons. I love Bring Her Back most recently. I'm really digging a lot of the international films. So one of my favorite
Yeah.
films of the last decade or so was this film in English. It's Tigers Are Not Afraid. It's I think it's Isa Lopez who she was the person who did the True Detective Night Country. It's a Mexican film.
Yeah.
Really, really smart. I love the Danish version of Speak No Evil. I thought that was great. So I'm really loving how diverse horror is. And I don't mean like woke diverse. I just mean like you're getting horror stories from all around the world, different time periods. It's like we're just living in this really great horror moment right now.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm really enjoying. This is just a great time to be a horror fan.
No, no, definitely, man. And I'm glad you brought that up because for me, like I purposely look for international films like from any era, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, because it's like I tell people, I mean, we grew up here, of course, in the US, and for the most part, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but can you imagine how many films were out there that kind of, were like that, like an international, like whether in the Philippines or South Australia or wherever. But it's like, I mean, I'm a big fan, man. I mean, growing up, I mean, of course, here in San Antonio, we didn't have cable right off the bat, so of course, a lot of our TV was antenna. So we watched a lot of reruns. We were watching,
Oh yeah.
the luchadores fighting monsters, which was always it's still one of my favorites. But I got like VHS from that stuff, man. But it's like that's kind of what got me hooked. And I was like, man, like fighting the vampires and the Frankensteins and the mummies. And I'm thinking, okay, you know what? And black and white, Alfred Hitchcock, the Twilight Zone, black and white. I mean, a lot of the silent films, even now, like I study those and I watch them because I'm thinking, like, man, like for the most part, like a lot of these gigs, that I get, they're in big productions, but it's a lot of background work. But my thing, it's like, man, it's like a silent film for me because we can't talk, we gotta use hands, we gotta sell, whatever they're telling us to do, and it's like we don't get dialogue. But I always tell people this, like whenever they pair me up with somebody, I'm like, okay, look, man, they want us to do this. Okay, this is what I'm gonna say. You're gonna respond. This is what I'm gonna, and we just kind of keep that. That way, we know like what we're doing back and forth, and it might not mean much to a lot of people, but for me, it sells it. I wanna act it out. I wanna put it out there, and it's like if you see me on the TV and you're like, man, what were you guys talking about? I won't remember, but I'm like, we're talking about something. But I want it to look believable.
Absolutely. No, I've got a friend named Bonnie who does that kind of background work, and it's amazing. Like she's always throwing up clips of like she's in everything and everything. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even notice her, but she's so good at being there, but
Yeah,
not being noticeable. Like just kind of
yeah,
being that person who's kind of making the world feel real. But in terms of like that early like influence, yeah, I'm the same. I remember two things I really remember was one in Dallas they had a 3:30 movie there was almost always monster movie. Like typically
yeah.
Godzilla, that was my favorite. So I remember rushing home, like running as it's like 8 years, 7 years old, back when they let 7-year-olds go walk home. I
Oh yeah,
remember kind of running home to get back in time to turn on the Channel 8 movie and hope it was a Godzilla movie. And sometimes it was a cheesy romance, and I'd be like, oh, "Arr." But most of the time it was like a Godzilla or Frankenstein or something like that. Those are really good. The other thing I always remember is they used to show. I'm not quite old enough to remember the show when it came on originally, but there was an ABC show called Kolchak the Night Stalker
oh okay,
that was like X Files before X Files. Very cheesy. This guy named Carl Kolchak, who's a newspaper reporter, keeps finding monsters. So
yeah,
every episode, he finds a different monster and has to kill it. And those ran on the late night, like midnight CBS. So I would sneak out of my bedroom and go to watch the TV and watch all the cheesy and then they'd usually be followed by like some bad made for TV horror movie. So I'm like you. I grew up on that kind of absolute bottom of the barrel pop culture. I grew
oh,
up on that. The other thing I grew up on was comic books. Like I was a
oh nice,
huge comic book fan. I mean, so the novel, like I wrote, is kind of a mashup of cosmic horror and science fiction and superheroes. I think it's literally just the stuff that came out of all garbage that I put in my head, as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old watching bad TV all night. So
Yeah. No, yeah, and I have that image. I mean, so everybody can see out there. I mean, this is no one can save us, man.
that's it. Yeah. Golly, look at that. Yes.
And of course, I mean, when it comes to ordering, because I did put on there, Amazon .com. I mean, they can purchase it. I mean, it's on Kindle. When it comes to paperback, is it through Amazon as well?
It is. There's a paperback version.
There you
I should
go.
also say, shameless self-promotion, it just won the top horror novel from Firebird Book Awards. So this just
Yeah,
got work a little
congratulations.
sticker there saying,
Yeah.
look at my awards. So no, people can order it paperback, Kindle, however they want to. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the paperback because I feel
Oh, yeah.
like, it's a thing. You can like flip through it. You can all
Yeah,
but
yeah,
absolutely
like,
any way people wanted to order it, I mean, give it a look. The reaction so far has been, like I said, won this award at Firebird. The audience readers reviews on Amazon have been tremendously positive. So it is just like, you dream of writing something and you write it. You dream maybe someone will publish it, and after a long, very painful journey, eventually I found Jacob and Jenny and the folks at Nightmare Press to
yeah.
publish it. Then you sort of think, well, is anyone going to read it? Are they going to like it? Are they going to ignore it? Are they going to blast it to pieces? So the fact that a lot of people have read it and they've generally said, there have been a few negative reviews, but for the most part, people have said really positive things. It's, like I said, my 12-year-old self would be absolutely over the moon with
Oh,
this,
yeah,
this success. So
yeah, definitely, man. And this is something, I mean, you should be proud of. I mean, it's like one of the things, when it comes to creating or putting stuff out there, whether it's a song, a movie, a book, a podcast. It's like I stopped like worrying, not so much worrying, but I stopped kind of like, like once I put it out there, it doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to everybody. So whether people like it, don't like it, I mean, that's fine. The only thing I tell people is if you don't like it, post, comment on there, man. Give me on that algorithm, give me some hits.
Yes, bad comments are better than no comments. I will
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
I agree with you. I did find this is, to me, has been interesting. So again, I've written a fair number of nonfiction books, like about 10. Not all about horror films, but a lot of them are about horror, the history of horror. I've got a book on the silent era that came out for University of Texas Press. So all roads lead back to Texas, I guess. And those books have come out and they've been read and they've been reviewed, and sometimes positive, sometimes negative. And I had kind of your attitude, like I wrote it, there it is, do what you want.
Yeah.
Somehow, like the novel, I just felt more vulnerable. Like it was kind of scary, honestly, like getting it out. And then, first people I know reading it, that was kind of scary. And then even worse, people I don't know reading it. And it just felt like it was oddly enough, I mean, I'll just be completely honest, it was kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, would people hate it? Would they just ignore it? Whatever. So getting some positive response has been, just amazing and wonderful. And I need to get your attitude, which is I write it, you guys do what you want.
Yeah,
Somehow this one felt a little different.
No, for sure. And I mean, they're your babies. These are your projects. This is something that you've created from the bottom up, and it's like for it to be out there. It's just like anything else that we put out there in life. Whether it's a work project or anything. Once it gets out there, I mean, but this is your creativity. I mean, not everybody's gonna vibe with everything we do. I mean, of course. So it's just like conversations. I mean, I don't like being out in public. I prefer being at home. Of course, doing what I'm doing, I'm always out there. But it's just like I'd rather be home and chilling with my dogs and watching TV. But it's like, I mean, it's just like with people. It's like, I guess last year it was kind of one of those things where it took me a minute to kind of like, what? Because I mean, I enjoy everybody's conversation and I'm cool with everybody. But there's just some people that I don't hang out with. I mean,
Sure.
I see them and I'm there but it's like when it comes to like my own personal circle, it's a small circle, I mean, a lot of great people out there, a lot of, doing great things. And, but it's just, as adults, we kind of forget, like, it's kind of like a must, like, oh, you gotta like me because I'm this, or you gotta like, and it's like, man, I mean, I like everybody, but I doesn't mean I want to be around everybody all the time,
No, I think I'm like you. I call myself an introverted extrovert.
Yeah.
You can put me out there. Like I can be on the podcast. I can talk. I can give a talk in front of hundreds of people. No problem. Don't care. But left to my own, I would be downstairs in my chair with my TV, or my, whatever. Like I like my own company, or I like the small group of people who are like my, the real friends. I like everybody. I'm like you. Everybody's cool. But really, at the end of the day, I'm happiest in my own little world.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is good for a creator like yourself or a writer, because that my own little world is where all this stuff
Yeah.
happens, like where these characters come to life. And you're talking about your babies. I was thinking about this today. So the novel No One Can Save Us has kind of 5 main characters whose points of view you go through in the novel, and I realized how happy I was that some review has talked about each of them as their favorite. And it's like you got kids, you know what I mean? Like you want all your kids, like you don't want any kid to be the favorite. You want everybody to love everybody. So the fact that people were like, I like Sarah, I like Pia, I like no one, I like, whatever. It's like, oh, I want all my kids to be loved. So you kind of want, like you said, these are my babies. I created them out of my weird heads.
No, for sure. And that's I guess it's one of those things where, like just like in a movie or a song, you relate to whatever's there. If you like a song, it's because it's like, oh man, that's exactly how I felt that day or this day or whatever. But I mean, the storylines, of course, people do pick their I guess the characters that they kind of relate to, and so I can see that. But yeah, man, I mean, love all the babies, right?
But I will say, I mean, to your point, I think it's really smart. There is something, again, just sort of going back to reader response. And I do think, I will say to generally everybody out there, if you're a reader and you read something, particularly if you like it, throw a review on Amazon. Like just throw 5 words, like, I really like this part of it or whatever. It means so much to writers. And what really has been, to me, the most meaningful is not just that people liked it or that they bought it, which those are obviously really important. But when people have said, like, here's what it meant to me.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like you feel like you connect to some reader somewhere off in other part of the world, wherever they are. Like somehow what I was trying to think connected to your brain. And there's like something really magical. I think that's why we read fiction, right? We read fiction to enter into a world that's not our own. And same thing with watching movies. And if you do it well, like you kind of feel that connection happen. So, yeah.
No, for sure, man. And I'm sure I know I've talked to filmmakers, and when it comes to the premieres, a lot of them, it's been different. Some will sit way in the back because they want to see the reactions, or like one of them told me one time, they're like, man, it's closer to the door, so if people start booing, I just run out. But it's some people want to sit up front, and it's just everybody's doing their own thing. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, it's like you made it happen, you put it out there, and it's like go on to the next, right? You keep writing.
That is the key. That is the key.
And I mean, talking about writing, have you started anything else, or are you still gonna?
So I will. I don't think I've said this anywhere before. So my plan is that there will be a sequel to No One Can Save Us. That is in the works. I'm also working on a different novel that it was something, I had a weird idea in my head that I thought, well, that's a weird idea. And this happens to me a lot. I'll say as a writer, I tend to start with a weird idea, right? Yeah. Like just a weird, so this novel, I'll just say a little bit. So this novel centers on basically like your kind of Superman superhero who one day just loses control and kills like 14 million people, like just goes berserk. Damn. And then the consequences of what that was. That came from, so where I live, there's a very popular grocery store called Wegmans, almost like a Kroger's or H-E-B, like big. Right. And it was around the holidays, and I'm in the produce section, which is like Mad Max, right? Absolute chaos. It's the holidays that people are pushing, shoving, banging carts in. And I was sitting there like trying to get a pineapple. I don't know what I was doing. Just trying to get something. And and I just thought, I wish I could just like make all these people go away.
Yeah.
And honestly, I thought, actually, if I'm giving into my darker side, I wish I could just like splat them. I wish I could just go blap, get away. So that weird idea just stuck. It's just a stupid idea. Obviously, I would never hurt anybody, but it sort of stuck. And then it just kept like, what would that be like? What would it look like? And so that idea eventually germinated. And so for me, probably 8 times out of 10, a weird idea is just a weird idea. And I think, okay, I don't know what I'd do with that. So put it back in the box of weird ideas.
Yeah.
The book I'm working on now is one of those weird ideas that I had 10 years ago, thought, okay, that's a weird idea. I don't know what you do with it. throw it in the box. And then suddenly, shortly after this one came out, like that weird idea came back and laid the story out and was like,
Nice.
while you were away, we've been busy and we have this whole thing. So I'm writing that now. I'm gonna return to the world of No One, so there will be a second No One novel. I hope, hopefully someone will publish it if it's any good. But
Yeah.
that's the plan. So yes, I'm still trying to write. It's just definitely trying to find the time to help those worlds emerge. And I don't know that I create them so much as I'm just there to capture what they do.
No, no, for sure. Let me ask you, because on this one, you keep talking about superheroes. I mean, one of the things, and I know, I mean, even like, for example, like Superman, I mean, growing up, I mean, they made it for kids in a sense that they don't show a lot of violence. But like for me personally, I was always that kid that was like, man, if he had that much power, like what would happen with somebody with that much power in the wrong hands, like him being able to just destroy everything and just, you know what I mean? So that's kind of cool, because it kind of reminds me of the Marvel comics back in the day, or in the 80s, right? I don't know if they still have them, but they used to be called What If.
Oh yeah,
And they
absolutely.
would just kind of go into a different story, and I loved those because it was like, man, like it would answer questions that we had, as kids, and it kind of like left that open and the imagination going, and But I mean, to do movies like that, or even write novels like that, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I mean, this. I'll be clear. This is not a kid's book.
Yeah,
There's violence. There's bad stuff, kids. There's
yeah,
bad. Don't give this to your children. They don't want it. I do hope. Like, I'll be honest. I'm a comic book kid, so yeah, those What If comics. The comic book nerds out there will remember, like, the X-Men had the Dark Phoenix saga. There was a
oh
great
yeah,
series called Watchmen. Like, so I'm like, all those things are in my head, but I do think the novel is about bigger issues. It's about questions of power and responsibility and questioning, like, why the world the way it is. So I'm not going to say it's some big philosophical moral conversation, but it really is meant to be about more adult things. So some people hear superhero novel and they go like, I'm not reading that comic book crap. I would say give it a shot. See if this doesn't ping some bigger issues for you than just wearing tights and putting a cape on.
No, no, for sure, man. And I think even now, because they keep remaking these movies, and my thing is like, man, I want them to start making them for adults, because we were kids growing up watching these movies, and now I'm like, I'm ready for that violence. I'm ready for Mortal Kombat to be like really, really bad, to where people are just getting like killed. I mean, but it's just, I mean, that's just me. I mean, if others might be okay with it, but I mean, yeah, I would love to see those angles. Just kind of be like, hey, well, I was 10, 15 growing up watching this. Now I'm, my 50s, man. Like, I want to see some action.
And I think that was, for me, the book was about that, like wanting to see what that really, because you think about all those like Super Friends or all like the GI Joe cartoons. They shot and no one ever got killed. Like they're
Yeah.
shooting all the time and no one ever dies. So part of it was like trying to take that seriously. Like, okay, yes, if Superman devastates a city,
Yeah.
millions of people die. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like just like one guy has a owie. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be mass destruction and death. And then I also wanted to kind of play with the question of like, what are the consequences? Like, what are the stakes of that?
Yeah.
You think about how many big disasters. Like, oh my God, I'm a big Godzilla fan. How many Godzilla movies? Godzilla just wrecks Los Angeles and it's in tatters. Think about what that would mean.
Yeah.
Like, to have that many people die and lose buildings. And so I kind of wanted to take all those things we watched as kids and the Super Friends and Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, all that sort of stuff, and put it into an adult context where the action is real, the consequences are real, but so too are the questions about what all this means.
No, no, for sure. I mean, I agree. I mean, that's actually stuff that I'm sure there's a big market for it. Obviously, people love that stuff, they want to read into it, and I mean, the fact that it's out there and you are looking at doing a sequel, I mean, that's going to, even for those that have already read the first one, of course, they're going to be like, man, okay, let's see what storyline, or their favorite character come back, or you know what I mean? Like, there's still a lot of stuff they have to look forward to. So that's pretty cool. I
I
like it,
hope
man.
people will hang with it. I hope they'll be interested. But as a writer, as you said, I all I can do is write it. I can't make people read it. I can't shove it in people's mailbox. I can write it, and then fabulous folks like the great folks at Nightmare Press help put it out there and help connect and promote it. And then great people like you let me talk about it, which is super. I appreciate you. And
No,
then people are gonna do what they're gonna do.
no, for sure, man. And you know what? One of the things I like to ask and talk about is music, man. Because obviously, you said you mentioned ghosts, but I mean, when it comes to working, I mean, do you listen to music, or has music influenced you?
Oh God, yes. I am. So again, while I love physical media, I do listen to Spotify just because it's in my office, it's in my car, it's in my home, it's at the gym, everywhere I go. I got headphones on. If you ever walk in my office, if there's not music playing, something's wrong. Like clearly, there's shit has gone sideways. So I am, yeah. In fact, when the Spotify does their end of year thing, I'm always like in the top 0.1% of listeners. So I listen all the time. Um, I listen to all kinds of music. I do. I genuinely believe that everything from country to metal to death metal to a little bit of pop. Probably not the biggest pop fan. A little bit of rap and R&B. Maybe not the biggest fan of those. But I will say this: for me, when I'm writing a project, I either make a playlist or I pick an album, or sometimes I'll pick an artist. So a couple
Okay.
years ago, I wrote a book. It was called A Place of Darkness. It was kind of a history of horror and silent film. I wrote that entire book to Pink Floyd. Every chapter was a different Pink Floyd album, and
Yeah.
when I started writing, when I came back to a chapter I've been working on, I would put that album on, and I would just listen to it until that was done, and when I started the
Sweet.
next chapter, same thing. So no one actually has. Maybe I'll put this on the comments of your YouTube channel. There is a Spotify playlist that is
Okay.
the playlist of stuff I was listening to as I was writing the album. And to me, I don't. It's probably nonsense. It's probably just superstition. But I feel like going back to the same album or the same artist, the same playlist is a way to kind of get back into that
Yeah.
mindset. It's like re-entering that world. So yeah, I
Nice.
am psychotically into listening to music, like too much.
Oh, yeah, man, and that's cool because I mean, just like anything, I always tell people, when it comes to music, I mean, it changes the mood in the crowd. If you go with something fast, of course, people go crazy. If you start calming down, and then I always tell, like, I have some buddies that were in bands or are in bands, and I would always tell them, like, man, you gotta end the set with something like mellow. That way, nobody goes home fighting. Just kind of mellow everybody out, and that's it. Go home and do the adult thing, man. But yeah, I love music. I mean, growing up here in San Antonio, I mean, of course, everything from Spanish rock to Tejano, rap. I mean, anything 80s, early 90s, maybe, but punk rock. I mean, I'm still real big with punk rock music, so it's just like whatever's out there and gets me in that mood, man. Like I go jogging, 3 days or every other day I go jogging, right? And I always listen to techno when I'm out there because it keeps me moving. I just put that on there and yeah. Oh yeah, it gets my heart pumping and I'm like, all right, let's go, and but it motivates me, So yeah, it's like I don't want to listen to something mellow and I'll be out there falling asleep, right?
I like when I lift, I've got to have metal. Like I can listen to anything all the time, but like if I'm pushing some plates,
Yeah.
it's got to be Pantera or it's got to be
Oh
Sabbath
no,
or something. It's got to be. I don't need the rhythm beat. I need
yeah.
the like just
The aggression.
aggression.
No, yeah, definitely agree, man. And for me, it's just the pace, but I love it, house music. I mean, techno, trance, all that good stuff, man. But yeah, by all means, man. Let me ask you, question. When it comes to superheroes, man, if you could have one like hero strength for one day, what would it be, and what would you do with it, man?
Wow, I think if I only have for one day, I would want super intelligence so I could figure out how to keep it. That would be,
Oh, sweet. Gotcha. There you
or
go.
super intelligence so I could figure out how to make a lot of money, and then I could.
The next day,
I,
just live off the benefits, right? Be like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah. Well, there's no question people used to ask. It was like, if you could have a superpower, you could either be invisible or fly. Which would you choose?
yeah,
And there was a study that said most people would say in public they would fly, but really they want to be invisible
yeah. No, yeah,
because
yeah.
really we want to go hear what people say about us.
Yeah, I used to tell people, like, man, back in high school, I used to think I was invisible. I said, it turned out people just ignored me.
Yeah,
Nobody paid attention to me, man. But I've always been that guy. I've always been that guy in the back of the crowd. Like, I never liked being in front of anything. When it came to doing this, initially it was just audio, and people were like, "Hey, who are you talking to?" So I put them on camera, and then they were like, "Well, who are they talking to?" And I was like, "Crap," So I had to put myself up there, and but I like it, man. For the most part, it's I always tell people it's my therapy. I get to go out there and talk about what's going on, and as adults, as men, a lot of us don't get to do that. So it's a cool stress relief.
That is very. So, what led you to acting? Because it seems like acting would be the absolute opposite of what you'd want to be. Why in the world do you want to be on a movie set in front of a camera?
Honestly, for me, I like in high school, I wanted to be in theater. I wanted to like even behind the scenes because I was like, man, I would love to just work on stage and set up. And when it came to acting, I had a lot of opportunities um, in life, man, where I was going to be an extra in a lot of films, and because I was too shy and I wouldn't show up, and then not to say those would have made me something, but at least I would have had that. I was supposed to be in the Miss Congeniality here in San Antonio. I was supposed to be on the Selena movie that they filmed here. I was supposed to be on the REM video that they filmed here back in
Oh yeah,
90.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, just a bunch of opportunities like that, man. And I would always like not show up. I'd be like, yeah, I'll be there. And then the next day, I'm like, oh man, like I don't want to go. I was too embarrassed, and when finally before COVID, I auditioned a bit, and COVID happened, so that kind of put an end to that. But after COVID, my youngest was living here at home and decided to move out, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not no longer an Uber driver, so I had to find something to do, But the podcast was already going. I started talking to a lot of filmmakers, some that actually gave me that opportunity to jump on something, and I said, okay, So I just took that, took those opportunities, kept pursuing it. A lot of filmmaking here in San Antonio. I mean, everywhere, but in San Antonio, it's getting pretty big, So. But one thing led to another. Now, for me, it's not funny to say, but it's kind of like one of those things where it's like I want to live forever, like in the film. I want something that's like my great grandkid might be able to see one day and be like, oh damn, that's grandpa, or that's great grandpa, or whatever the case. But it's like for me, that's kind of what it is. It's just for me to. In the beginning, it was like, man, I wanted to prove people wrong, but like as I matured more into the whole thing. I was like, I want to prove myself right.
Nice.
It's not about anybody else. It's about me. My kids see what I'm doing. They're being, they love it. They're supporting. They're like, I'm kind of hoping like, they follow that suit and just kind of try things that they wouldn't normally do, But it's just great opportunities, man. I mean, I'm still shooting. I'm still doing auditions. I'm still putting myself out there. And who knows, man? Maybe I'll be out there one day. Big movie.
Well, I think if there's any lesson from our conversation that folks should get, and I think particularly men, I'm gonna be a little, forgive me, other folks, but I'm gonna go for men. It is to be brave enough to make yourself vulnerable and try, because I think a lot of us are afraid. We don't want to admit we're afraid because we're men, so we can't say we're afraid. We're too big and tough, and then we get angry, and then we're angry, or frustrated. Like we're like, why don't I have the life I want? And we're not this. I don't want to be political, but there's a lot of anger out there, folks. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. There's a lot of anger in this country. And I think if people could just let go of that and embrace who they are and let other people embrace who they are. You be you, man. Like, you do you. I don't have to, I feel like particularly men, we would be much healthier if we could just make ourselves vulnerable and try and not be afraid all the time of failure or not be afraid of being embarrassed. Like, just follow your dream. And if your dream is to be an actor or host a podcast or write a weird horror superhero novel, then do it. Who cares? Just be you.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, life's too short, man. Enjoy it. It's like they say. A lot of people, they live, but they don't get to live. That's just like I'm that guy, and I've always been that guy where I've never wanted to be stuck in a 9 to 5 and just do that. I don't want to just be here on earth just to work and pay for a house that all I do is sleep in, and so it's like, okay, well, what else can I do? I want to venture. I've met a lot of great people, a lot of local actors, a lot of people in general, like throughout this whole ordeal, man. And it's just talking to them and seeing like them pursue something like me, and I'm like, man, it motivates me even more because I'm like, man, like, what? I'm not the only one with this dream, this purpose. I mean, when it comes to the filmmaking, I mean, there's about 30% of the people there that are just doing it because they're retired and they got nothing else going on. And I'm cool. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. If I was retired and I wanted to hang out somewhere for a while and get paid, I mean, why not? But the rest of us that are trying to pursue something, I mean, yeah, just keep going and eventually it'll happen, man.
Yeah, if people could just quit working themselves to death and being frustrated all the time, we would be a much better place.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm not telling anybody to quit their job, keep working, but
I'm not going to pay for you. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. I go by the simple rule. You do you, right? Whatever you want to do, I'm cool. Like I grew up in the Texas I grew up in was very much believed in everybody's right to do what you want.
Yeah.
You want to do whatever, go ahead. You want to
Yeah.
wear bright purple hair, go nuts. Like, it's like, I respect everybody's right to do what you want to do. I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think if everybody could just go back to that, we
Yeah.
may be better off.
Yeah, as long as you're not, bothering people or doing, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, as long as you're living your life and being happy, like that, I think that's one of those things, even, during filmmaking, because there was a couple of scenes this past week where, um, I had to do certain things. Like one, I had to like yell like a maniac, and I did. And it was on the first shot, and I was like, damn, because I didn't know when they asked me, it was just like, hey, you know what? We're gonna add this. This is what we need you to do, and we're gonna get killed. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so I did what I did, but I was just like, damn, I felt good about it. And I was like, you know what? There's a lot in me that I know I can put out there, and people are gonna enjoy, or at least be like, wow, like, you know what, that was good. But I mean, of course, when it comes to acting, our biggest thing is getting dialogue, getting a character, getting something out there, and not just because we get paid more, which is nice, but you get to actually be in a film, and that's what I'm shooting for. A lot of indie films I've jumped on, but when it comes to features, I've been fortunate to jump in a few last year and this last one, so we'll see where it goes, man. Like I said, I mean, sky's the limit, and I'm gonna keep climbing.
See, I could never, when I was in high school, I couldn't do drama. I could not get out of my own way. I could not let go of just feeling uncomfortable and self-conscious and all that. So I admire somebody who could just say, the scene requires me to scream like a maniac. I'm going to scream like a
Yeah.
maniac. I just would get in my own head too much. So maybe that's why I'm better as a writer. I can sort of be in my own head, and I'm good.
No, no, for sure, man. And let me ask you, on that note, I mean, have you ever written any screenplays?
No, no. I did years and years ago. I actually wrote for a very small independent comic book company that promptly went bankrupt. So just about time. And so I had written several scripts for comic books, and the person I felt most sorry for was a guy named Ben Yu. I have no idea what happened to him. He was an artist, and he had drawn like the first issue, and it was gorgeous. Like, it was really
Wow.
great. And I was so excited. And then, we sent it in. It was like all ready to, when are we going to actually get the issue? And then I get this email saying, sorry, we're bankrupt. It's over. And
Wow.
I
Just like that,
lost,
man.
a lot of time I spent writing. But this guy, Ben,
Yeah.
if you're watching, if you're out there, God bless you. I hope life treated you well, because it was
Yeah,
it
man.
was a
How
lot of
long
fun.
ago
But
was this?
it's a good question. Yeah, I don't. This was like 2000. This was 2000, so it was 26 years ago. So
Okay.
hopefully he's gone on. But I've never. Yeah, I've read a lot of movie scripts because I write about films,
Yeah.
but I've never quite been. Yeah, I don't know that I have that mentality. But maybe this is a challenge, so maybe
Yeah,
I'll try it.
man. That'd be cool to see what you can come up with. There's a lot of short films that get thrown out there, and there's a lot of cool storylines, man. I mean, there's fan films are just originals, but it's like I like to read because I read a lot of scripts too. And like I mentioned earlier, when I do my movie reviews, like they send me the screeners before they put them out there, and I'm like a kid. I'm like, heck yeah, man! Like I get to come home and watch it, or watch it at work while I'm on break. Of course, I'm on lunch, but I'll watch it out there and just enjoy it. But it's like it's a blessing, because it's like, I mean, I've always, even with my zine back in the day, like. I mean, I used to interview bands like through snail mail, what we used to call it, right? But I mean, going to the shows, and I'm the owner. I own this zine, and they'd be like, oh yeah, yeah, come in, and I'm like, oh shit, like I'm on the list. I'm like, it's like a little punk rock show, but it always made me feel great, because I'm like, you know what, they appreciate what I'm doing. I've always been networking even before social media came up. I've been doing it since the '90s, and it's just something that came natural, and I want to do something with it. So why not, right?
Well, I tell you, if I write a screenplay, I'm going to write it for you. I'm going to make you the star. So there you
Let's
go.
go, man. Let's do it. We'll go ahead and find somebody to put money up front and get it going, man. No, but let me ask you, when it comes to writing, I mean, you mentioned, I mean, everything is, it's not pen on paper. I mean, you said you used to type in the beginning. Nowadays, is everything? Do you still save everything? I mean, do you put everything on the drive? I mean, I know you say you deleted some
Oh, yeah.
stuff. You were afraid to, but how do you work with that now?
Yeah, I tend to have a couple of backups because the terror is always like, oh my God, it's a blank screen. And I do tend to print off probably too much, probably waste a lot of paper, but I like having physical copy. I got, yeah, I got, so this, oh gosh, this binder is full of early drafts of
Oh
this
wow,
novel. So
wow,
like all these are early chapters. of the novel, and then some of it's also people who read it gave me feedback. So I'm totally a typer and totally a digital person, but I'm still everything ends up in this box.
Man, that's cool, man. I like that you keep that because a lot of times people don't they throw stuff away, like I guess we mentioned earlier, and then you're like, damn, I should have kept that. I should have put that away.
Well, years ago, and this is probably part of why I got psychotic about this. I was actually moving to Austin, Texas. We were spending a couple of months living in Austin, doing some stuff at the University of Texas there. And on the way, and we had all our stuff, computers, everything piled in the back of the car. On the way, we stopped to eat in Indianapolis, and someone broke into our car and stole all our stuff.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I know there are at least 3 or 4 short stories or beginnings to novel that I had on that drive that are gone. Just gone. I have no idea where they are. So after that, I got pretty like thumb drive, cloud, Dropbox.
Everything.
Like I don't want to have that happen again. So
No, for sure, man. I mean, I know I had when I was doing an MMA event, I had my camera, my laptop in the back of my car. I stopped at Target to go and pick up a memory card because I was like, damn, let me pick up. I go back and I don't know how they popped my door or if I had left my door unlocked, but they took everything, man. And
what I remember is we came out from the restaurant and my wife said, "Why did you park in all this glass?" And I said, "I didn't park in glass." And then I realized that was the back windows, both smashed open, everything out. So,
wow.
Yeah, that makes you a little bit paranoid. So I do everything on the computer, but I do like to have lots of backup options.
No, for sure, man. Yeah, man. For those people that did that, I mean, God bless them. But yeah, man, that's just not. I mean,
Cool, man.
It's just like with me. Like, I mean, it's like I told people when I've lost my wallet before, and it's just a wallet, but you still feel vulnerable. You lose your phone and you freak out because everything's there, and you're like, damn, it's just one of those things where it's not a good feeling, man.
No, but at the end of the day, like you say, you got your health, you got your life. That's what really matters. All the rest of that stuff can be replaced.
I think a buddy of mine, because they had called me one time, and they were like, oh man, they were about to move. And he called me. He said, "Yeah, somebody broke in and they robbed us. They took this and this." And I was like, I said, "Well, what did they take?" And he's like, "Oh, just stuff I had in the garage." And I said, "Well, man, at least now you don't have to move it." And he was all like,
less stuff.
"Yeah, you know what? You're right, man. Like it was just stuff that I didn't care about, but it just still kind of sucked. But I mean, it was for a reason, and he didn't have to get a bigger U-Haul and save some money. So it was what it was, man."
Always look on the bright side. There you go.
Definitely. But my man, bro, thank you for joining me. Thank you for jumping on this, and of course, I'm gonna post the image up for everybody out there. Like we mentioned, I mean, it is going to be on Amazon.com. It is on paperback. It is on Kindle. So of course, those that don't want to hold anything, they want to put it on the screen. Of course, more than welcome, right? They can order it
any way they want to order it. That's absolutely fine. Please, give it a look. If you like it, write a review. And again, Spider, thank you. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the podcast. I love your trailer breakdowns. So this has been a real honor to get a chance to talk with you.
No, likewise, man. I appreciate you jumping on here. And of course, don't hang up yet. But everybody out there, and I want to thank Nightmare Press, of course, for referring you out here, man. Great people. Everybody go out there, give them a follow. Don't hang up yet, brother. Everybody out there, of course, once again, Spidey here. Coming